think it's easy to think that when you post your stuff online, that it's very easy for people to simply click the link or click play. And I think we musicians, we artists, grossly underestimate how valuable time is. Time is really the ultimate resource. It's the ultimate asset that we have. You can trade your time for something, but you can never trade anything for time. You can't get it back. This is really what some of the most successful business people understand, that time is everything. The day and age we live in right now is extremely time-centric, and as the economy is placing more and more demands on each and every single one of us, we are slowly realizing how precious it really is. And we start to realize that, you know, there's only a certain amount of it, and that you can't get it back. So as a musician, as an artist, you need to understand that time is very valuable to everyone. So if you don't respect other people's time, I don't see any reason why they should give their time to you and click your link and listen to your music. So what does it mean to do that? What does it mean to respect other people's time? Everything needs to begin and end at the listener, the consumer, the fan, whatever term you want to use for that. And I think this is where the ability to articulate your intentions clearly comes to play. It's about not wasting other people's time. You're going to get to the core of the matter with authenticity and honesty and transparency, and put yourself in that position. What would make it so that you would stop and take a minute or 3 minutes or perhaps 40 minutes, if it's an album, out of your day to do something? There's an exchange there, and there needs to be value, and you need to present that value to the best of your ability. And I think most musicians never get to that point because they're all focused and wrapped around their ego. It's about, look at the music I made. Look at what I made. And people can smell that shit from a mile away. That doesn't fly in the music industry. You know, this is all about the basics of communication. You can't abuse the connection. You can't abuse the relationship. You wouldn't run up to someone on the street and say, here's my music, listen to my music. I mean, some people do that, and certainly, I mean, you can see success, but that requires a lot of self-awareness. You need to know that you have a contagious, extroverted personality type, and it's really about understanding the context. You know, for a lot of people, it might work. Maybe you are charismatic in that way, but for the majority of situations, that's not going to work. And it's not just about strangers, it's also about the people you already know. You know, you don't just go up to someone and scream in their ear and try and shove your CD or your music in their face. It's just not how proper human communication works. It's not reasonable. It's not polite. It's not a functional way of communicating. Now, if people are interested in the detail, if they want to hear your life story, they're going to tell you. And if they move past that initial contact point, then you can go deeper. But stop assuming that anyone gives a shit, because most likely they don't. And until you're perfectly fine with that fact, when you start with no one gives a shit, and now I need to communicate why they perhaps would, and do that in an effective, articulate manner, then you have a shot. It's really basic stuff, yet when we're in the heat of the moment, when we're finally holding that master file in our hands and we feel accomplished, and of course it's the center of your life, you know, at that point at least. Music is important to you, but you can't mix up that feeling with the reality of how most people are going to perceive stuff like that. You have to think about it from your own perspective. Even if your friend, a good friend of yours, has done something that you know they put a lot of work into, that song is simply going to manifest itself in front of most people in the context of pressing a single button. That's all it is. They don't see the blood, the sweat, and the tears, and they only want to see it once they choose to do so. So stop expecting people to treat your music the same way you treat it. They're not as close to it. They don't have that same context. So when you take your precious music in front of people and ask them to spend their precious time on it, make it worthwhile, make it clear, make it authentic, make it efficient, save their time, show that you don't expect anything. Don't beg, don't be a victim. Just give it to them like it is, and make sure that with every step that's there, you are communicating your respect for their time. It's a prerequisite. It's not an optional thing. I think it's a must. It's the entrance fee to this discussion. And in a world where a lot of people are saying, look at me, look at what I'm doing, I'm special, pay attention to me, don't play that game. Real human relationships aren't like that. Most musicians just want to take, listen to my music, without any context of what someone might gain from it. You should never assume that your music is equally important to someone else than it is for you. Of course it isn't. It never will be. I mean, you're like a parent to your creations. You were there when it was born. You saw it through hard times, and you made it what it is. Don't make any assumptions. Don't expect anything. Don't be a victim. Don't beg. And lastly, and this deserves a separate video of its own, always give more than what you're asking. Because that way, the transaction, the connection is fair. If you want the freedom to approach someone and ask them for their precious time, then that freedom comes with the balanced responsibility of giving more than you're asking. It's the same basic principle you would follow in any other interaction. If someone is going to do something for you, you want to do something for them. And preferably, this is how relationships stay healthy. You want to give more than you're asking. And when you do that, good things happen. finish.